All right. So I know it's been a week since the last time I uploaded something. Technically not because we were busy with all the gaming showcases and whatnot. There was like two that I didn't stream. I'm pretty sure, like on YouTube, which was the PC gaming one and the whatchamacallit, the Apple one that just came out today. Couldn't have time to. Today I want to focus on all the stuff that's been going on around the world that I haven't been able to catch up on last week. So let's get right into it. I saw this stuff throughout the week and I knew I was gonna want to record something regarding it. Hold on, let me just exit out this bull crap. Okay. Alright. So there's a lot of stuff, huh? Okay. Yes. To kill U.S. soldiers. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, there was something. Okay.
3, 2, 1, now.
Sorry about that.
While Pakistan retaliated with Chinese-made PL-15
Oh,
missiles, these missiles
Paki
failed
Sharma.
to hit their intended targets.
Another highlight has been the stellar performance of the indigenous air defense weapon system like the Akash system.
A major general in India said that it played the most significant role in the conflict.
Morning rose over Punjab and Kashmir on May 10th, 2025, shedding light on military
Morning rose.
installations and airfields, still tense after a night spent.
Alright, so I'm kind of ignorant right now as to the recent developments as to what's been going on. I kind of only know as from the last time that we uploaded a video, so any new details, if you know anything new. I know I'm obviously a couple of days late to this, so if anybody knows any more new details, make sure to leave a comment down
watching
below.
radar screens. Just hours earlier, the calm had broken into chaos. Waves of missiles, jets, and drones had launched out of Pakistan towards India in retaliation for the
Holy
success
crap.
of Operation Sindoor, India's attack on state-sponsored
Here we
terror
go.
groups operating
Here we
deep inside
go.
Pakistan.
It's like Pakistan just does not learn, bro. And then when they're getting like triple clustered bomb from India, don't be surprised, yo, because they freaking deserve
But
every inch
India
of it.
was ready for them. Across the border region,
What did I say? What the hell did I say?
interceptor missiles raced
Already ready.
skywards, with trails of fire and smoke marking their paths as they found their targets. Virtually every incoming threat was neutralized. The center of it all was the Akash missile system, India's Iron Dome, which has been in development for decades and now proven for the first time in the chaos of real combat. And it wasn't borrowed.
You should have made like a
just elsewhere.
diamond globe.
Akash was born right here in India. It was Indian scientists and engineers who created this amazing defensive weapon. A completely domestically produced missile guarding
Indian made for
skies
Indians by
exactly
Indians
as they first
to
planned
protect
back
Indians?
in 1983. For Akash,
Not
this
bad.
moment was its first real-world test.
Cheers,
And it
mate.
scored a 100. Proof that India is fully capable of protecting itself into the future.
Of course.
But
I don't think at this point, I don't really think anybody has ever doubted that like India can't protect itself. I don't really think that's like a thing.
Pakistanis didn't just start lobbing
Like a doubt,
missiles at
rather.
India out of nowhere. First, we need to quickly back up to April 22nd in Pahalgam, a popular tourist destination in Jammu and Kashmir. Islamic terrorists attacked, forcing civilians to recite the
If anybody's from this region or, you know, has been to this region, let me know. What's
Kalima,
going
a
on?
Muslim oath of faith, before separating Hindu visitors from Muslims and brutally murdering the Hindus. 26 innocent people lost their lives, among them a Muslim tour group who tried to stop the bloodshed. Then the bandits fled across the border to the camps they came from. India's response, Operation Sindoor, was swift and decisive. A precise strike against terrorist bases deep inside of Pakistan, but avoiding any civilian casualties. Pakistani nuclear threats were inevitable, but would they really go to war for these terrorists? Starting on the 7th of May, they tried, and they learned just how useless their Chinese weapons are in the face of a robust and layered air defense system. Because in a neighborhood armed with nuclear weapons, the stakes couldn't be higher. Any further destruction could have spelled nuclear war, and those don't have a winner. So, as the sun came up on May 11th, people on both sides of the border were finding fragments of destroyed missiles and drones, unexploded Chinese ordnances that had malfunctioned during the night, and even the debris of aircraft, including an F-16 and 2 YF-17s. The Indian weapons had found their mark in Operation Sindoor, but Pakistani weapons, 82% of which are Chinese imports, hadn't made it beyond the front line, thanks to systems like the Akash. A few Indian planes were lost.
Damn. So their as Asman would say, their lawnmower Timu weapons have critically failed. They blew up on launch.
Inside Pak airspace, but the number is unconfirmed. When asked if it was 6, like the Pakistanis claimed, Anil Chauhan, the Chief of Defense Staff of the Indian Armed Forces, denied that number and said that the claim is absolutely incorrect, and that is not information which, as I said, is important. On the other hand, the Indian Air Force destroyed 6 fighter jets, 2 high-value surveillance aircraft, 1 C-130 transport aircraft, and dozens of missiles, along with a multitude of drones with systems like Akash. So what is Akash, and what makes it so good at intercepting airborne threats? Well, let's break it down.
Cool.
Akash would be called a medium-range surface-to-air missile by international standards. And with 2 powerful opponents, China and Pakistan, sharing their border, it plays a vital defensive midfield role in India's layered air defense strategy. The original Mark I variant was first tested in 1990 and continued development until 1997. It had an engagement range of about 25 to 30 kilometers and a top speed of around Mach 2.5. It is optimized to intercept enemy fighter jets, cruise missiles, and larger drones, the most destructive incoming weapons. And its significance goes beyond just its excellent performance. Akash is one of India's first fully indigenous systems, and the first to be deployed across all service branches. A milestone in India's drive towards self-reliance, or Atmanirbhar Bharat. Development of the Akash missile began in 1983 with the launch of India's Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, or IGMDP, led by visionary scientist Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Known as India's Missile Man, he would push for strength through technological advancement throughout his career, and would even go on to become India's president from 2002 to 2007. He was a truly great man and the people's president, but that's a story for a different day. The IGMDP also developed the Prithvi, Trishul, Nag, and Agni missiles. The project ended in 2008, but together with Akash.
Well, I'll give India that. At least they didn't name their missile some stupid bullshit like how we be naming it, like the fucking TSG-47X100 Turkey Hawk missile. You know, look on some stupid shit. Or like the Fat Man and Little Boy. The fucking most ridiculous names ever, yo. Like, at least their shit is cool, you know? Like, the Prithvi, the Trishul, the Angi, the Agni, the Nag. Like, you just got bombed by a fucking Nag, dude. That sounds pretty cool.
Akash, they represent nearly 4 decades of Indian missile research. And not just as weapons, but as an expression of Indian sovereignty and the power of science to change the world. All but the Trishul are in active service today. The central figure in the creation of the Akash, though, was Dr. Prahlada Ramarao of the Defense Research and Development Organization, or DRDO. Prahlada was appointed director of the Akash program by Dr. Kalam himself, and led the Akash program from the very start, beginning with only 20 scientists and growing a team into the thousands. From there, Dr. Ramarao championed the idea of an indigenous missile system capable of meeting India's unique strategic demands. He described the 4 pillars of a successful missile as speed, agility, lethality, and intelligence, principles that inform.
My man said 3 and then said 4 things after that.
Every aspect of the Akash system. The original Mark I Akash missile used a single-stage solid-fuel propulsion system. This motor propels the missile to supersonic speeds in just a few seconds.
Boom!
The missile
Why
is
did they just
launched from a
fucking put
mobile
somebody
launcher
right
and
there?
immediately guided via command guidance, utilizing tracking data from the ground-based radar. Akash launchers differ slightly between the Army and the Air Force versions. The Army's version is mounted on a T-72 tank chassis built by Ordnance Factory Medoc, allowing it to keep pace with the armor it protects. The Air Force uses a towed launcher mounted on a Tata truck, jointly designed by Larsen and Toubreau and the DRDO, with full automation and remote control via an electric servo system. Both variants are capable of 360-degree rotation and can fire 3 missiles each. The Army's launcher elevates from 6 degrees to 60 degrees, while the Air Force's version fires between 8 degrees and 55 degrees, depending on deployment. Supporting the system is a fleet of specialized vehicles, including missile transporters, loaders, checkout stations, compressors, and maintenance units that allow the Akash battery to operate autonomously in the field. What made Akash so effective during the May conflict, though, was its guidance and control systems. Akash acquires targets up to 80 kilometers away.
Anything that has like auto-locking features. Like, I feel like anything that you don't have to aim or don't really think, you just tap a button and it locks itself. That's like, you know, precious time that could be used in the battlefield to do other things.
Function phased array fire control radar capable of tracking and targeting up to 64 airborne threats and guiding up to 12 missiles simultaneously. In a December 2023 test, the Akash became the first missile system in the world to intercept 4 targets simultaneously from a single launch event.
Damn.
The Akash Mark 1 missile does not use onboard secrets.
India just
it
keeps
is guided
winning.
entirely through command guidance
Just
from
win
the
after
ground
win
station.
after win,
The 1S
huh?
variant, first tested in 2019, includes onboard
Fuck
radar,
yeah.
allowing the missile to autonomously track targets in the terminal phase of flight. A proximity fuse ensures precise detonation near the target, maximizing the chances of a kill without requiring direct impact.
Maximum
Following the
girth
1S upgrade in 2019, DRDO introduced the Akash
of the
Prime
iOS
in
1
2021 as a refinement of the system for harsher operational environments. It features a Ku
iOS
X-band
update 1.
monopulse RF seeker with 360-degree engagement capability, improving accuracy against maneuvering targets. Akash Prime is optimized for high altitude, low temperature performance, and includes modified ground systems, making it better suited for deployment in alpine environments like Kashmir. Approved in 2016 and currently under development, Akash NG, or Next Generation, is a serious advancement in India's surface-to-air missile capabilities. It is lighter, smarter, and more agile, but it still packs a serious punch. Designed with a dual-pulse solid rocket motor, it has an extended range of up to 70 kilometers, significantly outdistancing
That sounds pretty cool.
earlier
Dual-pulse
models.
motor.
Unlike previous versions that relied on ground-based
Sounds
command
like a
guidance,
RC car.
Akash NG features an onboard active electronically scanned array, or AESA, radar seeker, enabling true fire-and-forget capability. The missile is canister-launched, allowing for faster reaction times and safer sealed storage. Optimized for agility, Akash NG integrates mid-course updates via data link and performs terminal maneuvers with enhanced agility. Cost-effectiveness is a defining strength of the Akash program. According to Prahlada, the missile was developed at approximately 10% of the...
Wait, Prahlada is he's the missile guy, right? He's India's missile man, the missile man himself.
cost of similar systems in other countries. Moreover, each Akash missile is estimated to cost 1/3 the price of other missiles in its class. This low cost, combined with
So it's that good
100%
and it's
domestic
cheap?
manufacturing, makes Akash
Damn, dude, it's like they got freaking, you know, Tony Stark over there making that shit in a cave with a box of scraps. Holy crap. Like, what are they working with? Stark Technologies here? What's going on?
not only a major defensive asset, but also
are we
an
not
economic
involved
and
in this?
industrial success story. Over 200 Indian firms are involved in its production. During Operation Sindoor,
We
the
should be
Akash
asking
system was
India
used
for
in
tips
a
and
real
tricks of the
combat
trade.
scenario to intercept dozens of incoming threats, marking its transition from a proven testbed to an active shield. Before the May conflict with Pakistan, Akash had become India's first exported missile system, with Armenia purchasing 15 units in 2022 for $720 million. The Philippines and Vietnam have also expressed interest in acquiring the system, but the runaway success in May has the entire world taking a look. Akash has proven itself as one of the top medium-range interceptors on the market today, and development is ongoing. Akash, produced by Bharat Dynamics Limited in Hyderabad, is an enduring symbol of India's technological maturity and its refusal to depend on external suppliers for critical national defense. It stands as a testament to Indian engineering, to Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they really haven't been backing down. Like, they've been, you know, really innovating their technology. and they've been showing that their shit ain't cheap, you know. Their shit actually works. Unlike the Temu sponsored stuff, you know.
Missile Man of India, and his vision of a technologically advanced and self-sufficient nation where courage and hard work can change the world we live in. After seeing his missile in action for the first time, his apprentice, Prahlada, had this to say: "It is the happiest day of life, seeing my baby work so accurately and beautifully in shooting down incoming enemy targets." So. He said he had tears in his eyes watching his creation protect people. Closing out an interview with TV9, he had this to say to his countrymen: "Live in peace and grow in technology." Again, echoing Dr. Kalam. From that quiet moment of pride,
isn't this the Missile Man saying this?
Akash is just one part of the sprawling web of interlocked defensive architecture, layered like armor over the Indian
real
homeland.
Funny guy.
At its heart is the principle that no single missile can do it all. So India built a dozen. A flexible, multi-tiered community of defense designed to catch everything from low-flying cruise missiles and suicide drones to high-altitude ballistic warheads. Short-range systems like Akash and VLSR SAM guard the gates. Medium-range platforms like Barak 8 and QR-SAM cover broader arcs. And above them all, beyond the edge of space, strategic long-range ballistic missiles are capable of reaching deep into enemy territory before threat ever sees the border. At the top of that web sits the Russian S-400 Triumph. And on May 10th, it reportedly shot down a Pakistani F-16 near the elite Sargodha Air Base, about 180 kilometers inside of the Pakistani border. In another incredible shot, it was confirmed last week that the S-400 downed a Pakistani AWACS plane at 314 kilometers, a new world record. That's an aggressive but necessary application of India's defensive doctrine, one where a long-range interceptor isn't just an attack, but a defense against an enemy loaded with missiles and bombs that would have been headed for India. It's a tactical reality. The S-400 reached deep across the border and eliminated a dangerous threat before it could even attack. The foundation for this moment...
I mean, any way you hack it, that's pretty, impressive, because it's like you don't even have to worry about getting attacked. Like, you could just dish out attacks, and you don't even have to worry about getting attacked. You're just, you're just chilling. It's like having a Green Lantern dome around your, like a literal dome around your country, without you actually having to have like an ugly ass, like Wakanda Forever dome, like how they did in Avengers. That movie, that ugly ass force field shield when Wakanda got attacked in the Infinity War. My bad, I just mentioned 2 different movies.
Moment was laid back in 2018 when India signed a $5.43 billion deal with Russia for 5 full S-400 regiments. Each regiment has 16 launchers, 1 regimental command post, 2 engagement radars, 1 acquisition radar, plus all the support and missile carrier vehicles to keep everything loaded and operational. So with 5 regiments, we are looking at 80 launchers, each with 4 missiles. So when India receives the
I don't know, he's saying 80? It sounds like a lot. But when you're for instance, when you're playing Battlefield, 80 rounds of something is not that much. But depending on how big the radius is for the explosion, I would imagine. So one missile, I would imagine could take out a whole city, a whole town type of thing.
Remaining 2 regiments from Russia, it will have as many as 320 missiles ready to fire at any given moment. As of this writing, Russian Deputy Chief of Mission in India, Roman Babushkin, said they would be delivered by 2026. He also hinted at more sales incoming.
Damn, that's
the purchase
in a couple of
triggered
months,
a global
dude.
stir. The United States supposedly threatening sanctions
the
under the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act, or CAATSA. But India moved ahead anyway, banking on their position as a counterbalance to China in the region. Their reasoning was simple. No matter the politics, the country needed a system with enough reach to secure its skies against modern threats, potentially coming across 2 hostile borders. The S-400 is a long-range surface-to-air missile system developed by Russia starting in the Soviet 80s. It experienced a long development process due to the
Soviets got
Union,
their own version of the 80s.
After a lot of false starts and challenges, the system was finally approved by the Russian government in 2007. It is considered to be one of the most capable operational defense platforms
for 27
Its
years.
radar can
That's
detect
crazy.
targets at distances of up to 600 kilometers and track hundreds of them at once. It can simultaneously engage up to 36 targets using a mix of missiles with different ranges and capabilities. There's the long-range 40N6E, which can intercept targets up to 400 kilometers away. Then there's the more common 48N6 family of missiles, which still boasts a range of up to 250 kilometers. For fast and agile targets like fighter jets and cruise missiles, there's the 9M96E2. It has a range of 120 kilometers. These, along with a menu of other missiles, can be loaded into whichever launch tube the user chooses, making each launcher a Swiss Army knife of airborne destruction. The S-400 is engineered to be able to neutralize fighter jets, bombers, cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and even stealth aircraft. The stealth aircraft hype is suspicious, though. In September of 2019, Israel's F-35 flew 200 kilometers through Syrian airspace, protected by the S-400 systems, to bomb Iranian-backed militants outside of Damascus, and then flew home, undetected. The system did seem to work for India.
They just dipped out, yo. They literally just pulled like a Black Ops 2 and just dipped out, or a Black Ops 1.
Detection and support equipment.
Like that mission where you're in like that plane and you gotta like be undercover, and you gotta like direct the other it's like that snow mission where you start off in the freaking plane and you have to direct the entire team throughout like halfway through the mission, and then once you get up to a certain point, you like stop controlling them and you break through a window. It's basically just what
it's mounted on mobile platforms, so the system can be repositioned quickly,
Right.
allowing it to adapt to changing battlefield conditions and respond to shifting threats across the country's vast territory. This flexibility is critical for India. With active tensions on both its western and northern borders, India lives in a complex environment that includes high-end aircraft, precision-guided weapons,
You're just always
drones,
being,
considering the
aggroed by
relationship
everybody.
between
Like India basically lives in as what Asman would say is a PvP server. They're just constant locked on to PvP.
China and Pakistan,
And they
even
just
the
want to live in like a
possibility of
PvE
coordinated
server.
attack. The S-400 plays a key role in addressing those risks as the farthest-reaching component of Indian layered missile defense. What puts it in context is its integration into India's larger cold start doctrine. This strategy envisions sudden, conventional retaliatory strikes across the border, and then rapid withdrawal and de-escalation. The strikes obviously invite retaliation, and to mitigate that risk, India needs the ability to absorb and deflect return attacks quickly and with precision. Systems like the S-400 provide that capability,
Deterrence,
allowing Indian planners to think
Deterrence.
defensively while maintaining a defensive buffer that reached as far as the enemy air bases deep inside of Pakistan. By 2021, the first S-400 units began arriving in India. Then in 2023, India announced its own
Turkestan,
Project
you mean?
Kusha, which is an indigenously produced system based on the S-400 that will also fulfill the same role. That system should be operational by the end of 2026. India is still waiting for the final 2 regiments of S-400s, but Russia has been very busy. So while the S-400 was originally developed by the Soviets and then the Russians, India's use of the platform reflects its ability to integrate foreign assets into a broader domestically directed strategy. The system now operates alongside Indian-built systems and infrastructure under Indian command and in service of Indian military objectives. They were quietly deployed in strategic locations, and the first time they were used intercepting aerial threats was during the May 2025 conflict. These were not test conditions. These were live, real-world engagements with high stakes and limited time to respond.
Fuck a
They
test.
worked
They just
perfectly
fucking
against a
just started
variety of
blasting.
threats. At one point, critics raised concerns that the acquisition might endanger India's relationship with Western partners or disrupt plans to diversify procurement.
Fuck that, dude.
But when the fighting
Countries
began,
willing to
what
defend
mattered
themselves,
was
that's a
whether
country
India
I'd
could
wanna
defend
work
itself.
with.
And it did. The S-400 fired.
Yeah,
Threats
what?
were
They
neutralized.
don't have
and
to
the
rely
defenses
on everybody
held.
else. They can take care of
India's
themselves.
project.
You know, like, it's like if you could take care of yourselves, then that means you could definitely, help us in the event that we need it or something. Like, that's somebody, like, reliable. Like, if you could take care of yourself, then that means you could definitely help others.
Kusha is an ambitious, homegrown,
Why wouldn't
long-range
you
air
want that?
defense initiative that aims to rival foreign systems like
Like,
the
why would I
Russian
wanna deal with
S-400,
somebody that always
while
needs help
consolidating
with
India's
shit?
push for strategic autonomy under the Atmanirbhar Bharat vision. Developed by DRDO, but very similar to the S-400, Kusha features a multi-tiered interceptor system composed of 3 distinct missile classes. M1 with a 150-kilometer range, M2 reaching up to
The
250
M1A1.
kilometers, and the top-tier M3,
Yeah, the
capable
A1
of engaging
Abrams.
targets at distances of 350 kilometers. These interceptors are expected to be outfitted with AESA radars, optical proximity fuses, and active terminal guidance, enabling them to neutralize a wide array of aerial threats, including the usual fighter jets and cruise missiles, but they are also being designed to counter ballistic missiles too. YouTube just dropped a mind-boggling announcement. Everyone, a faceless YouTube. Okay, let's get back to the video. The system will be fully
You
mobile
better get back
and
to the
integrated
video.
across
Punk.
India's air and naval defense networks, probably by the end of this decade, forming a new and high-tech layer in the country's broader missile shield. The prototype is expected to be completed within the next 12 to 18 months, with live trials extending up to 36 months afterward. If delivered on time, Kusha will replace imported strategic systems and give Indian commanders complete control over a long-range interception platform engineered and manufactured entirely on Indian soil and fully integrated with their C-4 ISR system. Medium-range surface-to-air missiles do the heavy lifting in India's air defense network. Rather than chase bombers 400 kilometers away or swat drones off the runway, what they do is hold ground. These are air defense systems that guard the airspace over cities, air bases, military convoys, and other strategic infrastructure.
All these
They're fast
freaking
enough to
missile
hit cruise
trucks,
missiles,
missile
agile
silo
enough
trucks.
to track fighter jets, and precise enough to manage multiple incoming threats at once. In a layered defense setup, they fill the space between long-range gear like the S-400 and close-in systems like the Spider or the Samar. Whether they're stationed near a radar drone in the desert or rolling with a mechanized unit in the northeast, they're always close enough to act and far enough to matter. In a modern conflict, this is the tier that does the most work engaging incoming threats early, redirecting the enemy's plan and creating the breathing room that lets everyone else function. Jointly developed by India's DRDO and Israeli aerospace industries, the Barak 8 is one of the most advanced and versatile missile defense systems in India's arsenal. It's designed to intercept a wide spectrum of aerial threats with precision and speed. In Indian service, it has different names depending on the branch. MR-SAM was deployed in 2021 with the Air Force and Army, while LR-SAM deployed in 2017 with the Navy. The missile uses a dual-pulse rocket motor and an active radar seeker, giving it the ability to track and destroy maneuvering targets at ranges of up to 100 kilometers in the standard version, and 150 kilometers in the extended range variant. It launches vertically from compact 8-cell canister modules, making it adaptable to ships, mobile launchers, and static bases alike. Barak 8 is already deployed across Indian Navy warships, like the Kolkata and Visakhapatnam class destroyers,
Kolkata, that's a cool
and the
name.
new Nilgiri class fighters, and even the new INS Vikrant aircraft carrier. On land,
Sounds like
it
a
forms
Zorro
the mid-range
One
tier of
Piece
India's
finisher
defensive
move.
grid alongside Akash and QR-SAM. It's an automated system capable of engaging multiple
already have one
targets
like that?
simultaneously and hardened against electronic countermeasures. Barak 8 is the system India relies on when threats are fast, low, and smart. It isn't an Israeli partnership anymore either. It's now fully integrated into India's command structure and produced domestically through Bharat
so they
Dynamics
were
Limited,
allies
with components
before.
sourced from both countries.
I didn't know that.
In a real war scenario, Barak 8 is what gives India the ability to fight off saturation missile strikes and swarm drone attacks at sea and on land before they get too close to their targets. The missile
fuck
is
was
using
that?
Israeli-sourced American GPS signal for guidance, however. Just like how the S-400 relies on Russia's GLONASS system. As India produces more of their weapons internally, those GPS systems will be replaced by NAV-IC, India's answer to satellite navigation. Developed by DRDO and based on the air-launched Astra Mark I, the VL-SR-SAM is India's first fully indigenous vertical-launch naval interceptor. Built
Oh, so what is this, like India's first SAM turns? Did they not have SAMs before? Or did they have SAMs and this is just a new missile for this? I'm confused now.
to defend the Navy from sea-skimming threats at close range. It launches cold,
Oh, man,
propelled
I
by
already know
compressed
something in the
nitrogen
count.
from an 8-cell module, igniting mid-air and snapping into motion at speeds of up to Mach 4. With 8 cruciform fins, and
Mach
thrust
4?
vectoring
Dude,
that let
that's
it
fast
pivot
in the
instantly
Flash.
towards incoming targets. It has a 50-kilometer range guided by an Indian-built radio frequency seeker and data-linked command control, enabling mid-course updates and precision strikes without the need for foreign radar packages or external
Without the
guidance.
need for speed.
The system can be deployed on ships as small as corvettes, making it an ideal workhorse for India's rapidly expanding ocean fleet and lightweight enough for future unmanned or drone escort platforms. Testing began in 2021, and by 2025, it had proven its ability to launch from a moving warship, intercepting fast-moving targets at the edge of its radar horizon, and cycle quickly for follow-up shots. With VL-SR-SAM, the Indian Navy now has a fast-reacting, domestically produced shield for its lower-tier defense needs. The Rafale Spider-MR, which stands for medium range, is the extended-reach version of the Israeli-made surface-to-air missile systems operated by India for broader and highly mobile airspace coverage, but with decent engagement depth. It fires the Python 5 for short-range ability, and the Derby for beyond beyond visual range
All these
intercepts,
cool-ass
launching them
names,
vertically from canisters with booster stages, extending the effective range of the Derby up to 50 kilometers. Spider MR uses an elevated radar mast and deploys a longer-range surveillance radar than its smaller variant, giving it earlier threat detection and better altitude coverage. Mounted on mobile trucks and fully networked for autonomous operation, it can engage multiple threats simultaneously, and though the marketing speak was unclear, Rafale implies while moving. Though not indigenously developed, it is still an important tool in India's layered defense arsenal. It operates a mid-tier intercept option that can plug holes in radar coverage and operate ahead of the main defense line in full engagement. Its low maintenance needs and high engagement reliability makes it ideal for forward deployed units, especially in regions where response time is short and threat density is high. India's Quick Reaction Surface-to-Air Missile, or QRSAM, is a fully indigenous mobile air defense system developed by DRDO to provide short to medium range for Indian Army units on the move. QRSAM is built for rapid shoot and scoot deployment, autonomous operation, and high mobility. Development began around 2007, with a full-scale testing program kicking off in 2017. The system consists of 6 wheeled mobile launchers, with each carrying 6 canisterized missiles, along with dual vehicle-mounted radars, a battery surveillance radar, or BSR, and a battery multifunction radar, or BMFR, both of which are...
I don't know if I trust that battery stuff. I keep saying battery. I don't know if I trust things running on a battery, especially if it's like military
active
grade.
electronically scanned array AESA systems.
You got that item that
These
needs to
radar,
be
along
run
with the
that
command and
needs the
control center,
energy
are all packed aboard their carriers
military grade.
efficiently and are networked for fully autonomous operations, including target acquisition, threat evaluation, and even automatic fire control. The missile itself features a solid fuel dual pulse motor, mid-course inertial navigation with two-way data link, and a terminal active radar seeker, allowing it to engage targets with precision at ranges of 25 to 30 kilometers. It travels at supersonic speeds and is capable of engaging multiple targets simultaneously. The first successful test firing occurred in June of 2017, and by December of 2021, QRSAM had successfully completed a series of validation trials,
QR code SAM
simulations, salvo launches, and no escape zone engagements. The system demonstrated full operational capability with direct hits on aerial targets, confirming its ability to work under electronic warfare conditions and jamming. The Indian Army is using QRSAM to replace older, less agile systems like the Cold War era Russian FAMAS, and doing it with an Indian system. Short-range missile defense systems are built as a last line of defense for the moment when time runs out. These are the interceptors that fire when danger is close and destruction is imminent. So they have to be fast and responsive, meant to protect individual targets like warships, airfields, and mobile battalions, not whole regions like a medium-range missile or projecting power like the long-range. In India's layered defense grid, they sit at the bottom rung, closest to the fight. Some are vehicle-mounted, designed to roll with armored columns. Others are bolted to ship decks.
Yeah, that black-colored one is way cooler than the green one.
Against
the green
drone
one was kind of like
swarms
the
and
fall
low-cost
colored.
munitions, these systems are
Sounds
no
like a
longer
DLC
just a
skin
good
you have to buy.
idea. They are absolutely essential. We've been watching the drone war in Ukraine and Russia, and it is apparent that in modern warfare, the kill chain doesn't end at 40,000 feet. Usually it ends 10 meters off the ground.
Modern warfare?
The Samar air defense system, developed by the Indian Air Force in collaboration with private defense industry partners, is probably the most interesting setup on our list. It serves the dual purpose of effective short-range air defense, along with using up a huge stockpile of old, unused missiles. The system is based on old Soviet-era air-to-air missiles for ground-based interception roles. The first variant, Samar-1, uses refurbished Vimpel R-73E infrared homing missiles, capable of reaching speeds between Mach 2 and Mach 2.5, with a maximum ground-launched range of approximately 12 kilometers. It's mounted on short-wing stallion 4x4 vehicles with a twin-turret rail launcher that can fire in either single or salvo mode. The system went through 17 test firings before being publicly fielded during exercise Astra Shakti in December of 2023, and later saw real-world combat during Operation Sindoor in May, where it successfully intercepted low-altitude threats in Jammu, Srinagar, and Amritsar. Its heavier counterpart, Samar-2, is based on Vimpel R-27 missiles, modified for semi-active radar homing and infrared guidance. Though the original air-launched R-27 could reach up to 90 kilometers, the Samar-2 is expected to have an effective ground-launched range of 20 to 30 kilometers, due to the lack of boosters when mounted to the Tatra T815 8x8 vehicles, a classic for offering off-road mobility and handling a variety of payloads. Unveiled at DEF Expo 2022, Samar-2 is slated to begin live fire.
Dude, there's no way they fucking have something called Death Expo. That is actually so hilarious. Shut up, dude. They have something called Death Expo, and it's literally just them talking about, you know, missiles or showcasing missiles and like weapons that actually kill people. That's hilarious. That's some like, yo. That's like having like, you know, villain con, like villain convention, and it's just like all the villains showing up. Showing all their gadgets and gizmos.
Testing in December of 2024. Together, the two systems give India
That's
an
hilarious,
adaptable,
man.
mobile, short-range air defense layer built from recycled missiles and old trucks, showing Soviet-era tech on the modern battlefield. And they aren't the only ones. Ukraine has Frankensams, old Sidewinder missiles that America has repurposed for a ground-launched role. The short-range variant of the Spider, the SR, is a quick reaction air defense system designed to intercept incoming threats within a 15-kilometer radius, engaging aircraft, but also lower-cost UAV swarms and precision-guided munitions. India operates the system in its original form as produced by Israelis Rafael and IAI, but integrates it into its layered air defense network as a gap filler and fast-response shield, especially among vulnerable corridors near the western border. Unlike the MR version, the SR variant fires with 360 degrees of targeting.
I feel like I'm getting a whole history rundown.
Gets the missiles on target much quicker.
Oh, breakdown.
It also fires the modified Python 5 and Derby missiles, but without boosters. Both of the missiles are air-to-air weapons converted for ground launch and equipped with lock-on after launch and lock-on before launch use. The missiles are housed in canisters on high-mobility launch vehicles and supported by a mobile radar and command post that can track multiple targets simultaneously. With its 360-degree coverage, high accuracy, and shoot-on-the-move capability, Spider SR allows Indian forces to deploy a flexible, reaction-based defense in zones where heavier systems like Akash or Barak 8 may not respond quickly enough. It's not a long-range tool, but it is a fast, lethal, and smart one, especially in contested or fast-moving combats.
I mean, shit, dude, it's 2025. If you don't have anything smart by now, or at least something that could best them Timu weapons, I mean, you're in the wrong business, brother.
The last missile we're going to cover is the venerable Barak 8. Originally developed by Israeli Aerospace Industries and Rafael, the Barak 1 was one of the first foreign missile systems widely adopted by the Indian Navy. They needed a fast and agile missile for point defense, mainly Navy ships. Compact, fast, and vertically launched, it gave Indian warships a 360-degree interception envelope against incoming aircraft and anti-ship missiles. Each missile measures just over 2 meters long and weighs under 100 kilograms, armed with a 22-kilogram fragmentation warhead and guided by radar command control. It can engage targets up to 12 kilometers away, at altitudes as high as 5.5 kilometers, reaching speeds of Mach 2.1 in just seconds. For more than 2 decades, Barak 1 served aboard India's INS Vikramaditya, Delhi-class destroyers, and Shivalik-class frigates, forming the close-in protective shell for some of the Navy's most valuable assets. But technology moved forward, and so did India. With the rise of VL SRSAM and the shift towards fully indigenous systems, Barak 1 is being gradually phased out and retired with honor, after decades on the front lines of fleet defense. So, that's the hardware. But behind every missile that launched in May stood something even more powerful. A web of radar stations, machines, and invisible signals, all moving in perfect rhythm. India's missile defense wasn't successful because of the missiles. It works because of the system that connects them. That system is called the Integrated Air Command and Control System, or IACCS. And it's one of the most important military networks in the Indian arsenal. Built by Bharat Electronics Limited under the direction of the Indian Air Force, IACCS tied together every major radar installation, missile battery, command center, and fighter squadron into a single encrypted network. It allows commanders to track threats in real time, match the right interceptor to the right incoming weapon, and coordinate their impressive layered defenses across India's massive and complex borders. The system links to airborne early warning and control aircraft like the Netra AEW&C, which flies over the battlefield providing radar coverage hundreds of kilometers ahead of the front line. That data is then pushed through fiber optic lines, microwave relays, and satellite links to control centers where officers make decisions within seconds. Every missile system featured in this video, Akash, Barak 8, QRSAM, VLSR-SAM, Spider, S-400, they all rely on the IACCS for guidance and coordination. If the Air Force sees a high-speed threat inbound from the west, they can decide in moments whether to intercept with a Barak 8 battery near the border or let the Akash team further inland take the shot. And if it's too big of a risk, the
To the
ES-400s
shop,
fire
bro.
from
Kick the
deep
freaking
inside the
baby.
country with
Kick the
full
freaking
radar
baby,
support.
bro.
All of this is backed by the GSAT-7A military satellite, which provides dedicated communications across the armed forces, especially the Air Force and Army. India's NAV-IC satellite navigation constellation adds another layer of redundancy, making sure every system knows where it is and where its target is, even if the GPS is jammed. So that covers the heavy hitters of Indian missile defense. But with hostile, nuclear-armed neighbors on both sides, there needs to be a blanket over everything else, and that's what I'm going to tell you about next. India's Ballistic Missile Defense, or BMD program, is the culmination of decades of scientific ambition, geopolitical necessity, and strategic foresight, much of which can be traced back to the influence and foundational work of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Though the program was formed initially in 2000, its roots go deeper. Into the missile revolution Kalam ignited in the 1980s with the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program. His vision, technological brilliance, layered defense foresight, and belief in deterrence through mastery still forms the philosophical core of India's BMD efforts. The BMD program itself is designed as a multi-tiered missile shield, capable of detecting, tracking, and intercepting incoming ballistic missiles in flight, both within and outside of the atmosphere. It is built to protect major population centers, military facilities, and nuclear infrastructure from missile strikes launched by adversaries like Pakistan or China. The system is divided into two primary phases, each designed to counter different classes of missile threats based on their speed, altitude, and range. Phase 1, the more mature component, is geared towards defending against missiles with ranges up to 2,000 kilometers, the sort most likely to be launched by Pakistan. It uses two primary interceptors: the Prithvi Air Defense, or PAD,
most likely
and
to
the
be launched by
Advanced Air
Pakistan.
Defense,
He
or
doesn't know that
AAD, missile. PAD is an exo-atmospheric interceptor, meaning it engages its targets in the upper reaches of the atmosphere between 50 and 80 kilometers in altitude. It is a two-stage missile with a solid-fueled booster and liquid-fueled second stage. Its guidance system includes an inertial navigation system with mid-course corrections, provided via data links from the Swordfish long-range tracking radar, followed by active radar homing in the terminal phase. The AAD, in contrast, is an endo-atmospheric interceptor, built to engage targets within the atmosphere at altitudes up to 40 kilometers. It's a single-stage, solid-fueled missile, also with inertial navigation system, radio frequency seeker, and active radar guidance. Both interceptors are supported by IACCS and the Swordfish LRTR.
So this is what India's
Israel's
packing,
Green
huh?
Line system. It has a current tracking range of 600 to 800 kilometers, with planned upgrades to push beyond 1,500 kilometers before too long. But the idea of intercepting enemy missiles in flight, of having a bullet hit a bullet, wasn't born in 2000. It was envisioned much earlier, during Kalam's stewardship of India's missile program. Under his leadership, DRDO built not just the Prithvi and Agni missile families, but the technological scaffolding that made interceptors even possible. Seekers, control surfaces, warhead proximity fuses, thrust vectoring, mechanisms, launch vehicle technologies, and radar networks. The PAD interceptor is, in many ways, a direct descendant of the Prithvi platform, repurposed and optimized to destroy. Kalam was not merely a project director. He was the intellectual and moral engine behind India's missile evolution. He understood, even in the early 1990s, that strategic defense would eventually need to include missile interceptors as well as delivery. He believed in layered defense before it became military doctrine. His speech...
Like, your plan only works if you could attack and defend. If you could only attack and then, you know, when it's time to defend, you're just, you know, a deer in headlights, and then you're getting freaking bombed and shit, and nothing to defend yourself with against those bombs. You know, it's like you're back to square one. You gotta go back to the drawing board. I think I don't know. I think India is in a pretty good place right now.
Papers often emphasized self-reliance and technical superiority before they became official government policy with Atmanirbhar Bharat and Cold Start. Even after he moved into the role of President of India, his legacy continued to shape strategic defense thinking. Scientists within DRDO often cited Kalam's early push for radar autonomy and seeker technology as the enablers of India's current interception capabilities. The program moved into Phase 2 in the late 2010s, aiming to counter missiles with ranges of up to 5,000 kilometers, which would include intermediate and intercontinental range ballistic missiles, most notably those from China. Phase 2 introduces two new interceptors, AD-1 and AD-2. The AD-1, successfully tested in November of 2022, is a two-stage missile capable of engaging targets in both low exo-atmospheric and endo-atmospheric zones. It's designed for versatility, able to kill medium-range ballistic missiles at high altitude or intercept closer targets
Versatility.
in their terminal phase. The AD-2, still in development, is expected to tackle ICBM-class threats and will likely include high maneuverability at hypersonic speeds. Supporting these newer systems is the Floating Test
Supersonic?
Range, a massive 10,000-ton DRDO-operated ship that allows missile tests over the ocean, safely away from populated areas and commercial air routes. It's a mobile proving ground for BMD technology, and has allowed India to conduct increasingly complex interception scenarios with live targets. Despite successful trials of both Phase 1 and Phase 2 components, full-scale deployment is still pending government approval, but the infrastructure is in place. These systems have been validated, and deployment-ready units have been manufactured. India already has limited operational capability and could activate the BMD network quickly in the event of escalating threat conditions. In every piece of this program, whether it's the Prithvi-based kill vehicles, the solid-fueled AAD,
kill vehicles.
the indigenous radar tech, or the autonomous data
missile
links,
trucks.
Dr. Kalam's influence is in it. Not because he managed this specific program, but because he built the machine that made it possible. India's ability to destroy a nuclear-capable missile mid-flight is more than a triumph of engineering. It's the realization
Yeah,
of a
they're
vision
almost
and
nuke-proof.
hard work that was Dr. Kalam's
That's pretty
belief for
sick,
India.
man.
Unless India stands up to the world, no one will respect us. In this world, fear has
Yeah.
no place. Only strength.
Yeah, you can't. That's exactly what I've been saying in my previous videos. You cannot back down, dude. You gotta stand up for yourself, because if you don't and you just keep, allowing yourself to get bullied, people are just gonna keep taking advantage of you. F that noise. You gotta, you gotta keep standing up and you're gooch. You're gooch.
Respect strength. Thanks for watching.
That's a fact. Everybody does respect strength. I respect strength. You don't want to, the average person doesn't really respect like a weak leader. Anyways, that was a fun little breakdown lesson on the missiles for the Iron Dome that protect them. I always imagined that the Iron Dome would actually be like a dome type of thing, like kind of like how I said earlier, like on some Black Panther shit, like that scene where the missiles come down and hit the dome and you could visibly see it, going from like invisible to like this blue shield thing. Thought it'd be something like that, but instead it's just missiles fighting against missiles. It's still pretty cool though. Anyways, I hope you guys like this video. I'll make sure to leave a link to this video down below. Make sure to go and like business-based video on this. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If I'm missing anything, leave it down below. If you know anything new or anything you guys want me to check out, make sure to leave it in the likes. Make sure to leave it in the comments down below as well. Check out my Kick, same name as my YouTube and my Twitch as well. Check out my Instagram too, and I will see you guys in the next one.